This is Jake on KNVR 995 FM. I'm hunkered down in our station here in Salt Lake City, coming in with critical information about the ongoing geomagnetic storm. If you're out there and can hear me, listen up. This is no ordinary event we're dealing with today. All right, here's what we know so far. A massive geomagnetic storm is currently messing with the Earth's magnetosphere. It's not just theory anymore. Satellites are down and GPS systems are going haywire. It's causing a whole mess of issues, so if you're on the road, it'd be best to stay put for now. It might sound like science fiction, but trust me, it's very much real. Got word earlier today, about an hour after the storm hit, that all sorts of satellites have gone off track or lost power. That's why your GPS might be telling you you're in the middle of the ocean right now, or leading you the wrong way. Not the right time for a scenic route, even if it seems like it is. Our power grid's been taking a hit too. Had a few blackouts around the city here, and it's not just us. It's happening all over the place. These fluctuations can fry transformers and mess with the grid big time. Now, I heard from Ben over at the power company, and they're doing everything they can, trying to manage the load. But when the currents act up like this, it's a constant whack-a-mole game with circuits. And for those who might be flying today, or rather trying to fly, you might want to sit tight. Heard from a buddy working air traffic in Denver, flights are getting rerouted left and right to avoid the polar routes. Planes flying too high could expose passengers to increased radiation levels, which ain't good. So expect delays, cancellations, and a lot of grumpy travelers. I should mention that there's a silver lining, if you can find it in all this chaos. There's a chance to catch the auroras further south than you'd normally see them. Folks are saying you might catch some pretty vivid lights. But remember, safety comes first. Don't go chasing lights if it means putting yourself in danger. And speaking of nature, if you're out in the countryside, away from city lights, it might be more obvious. You know, that's the part people don't often think about, how much this shakes up. You might notice your compass acting up. Surely, most folks don't rely on compasses these days, but if you're into hiking or boating, beware. Now, word's also coming in from the pipeline folks. Seems the induced currents have spiked, which over time could lead to some nasty corrosion down the line. Nothing immediate, but just something to think about in the long run as we deal with this. We've got a bit of interference on the radio waves too. If things get crackly, sit tight. I'll switch us to the backup antenna. You folks out there are our main concern. If you've got a battery-powered radio or a way to keep charged in this mess, keep it on and stay tuned. I'm up here with just a couple of folks left, 2 engineers trying their best to keep us on air as long as possible. Backup systems are holding for now, but, well, let's say it's a bit of a juggling act here. If things go dark, it's not us giving up, it's just the game we're in with the storm. I got reports coming in from all angles. Earlier today, a call from a trucker out near Reno said his whole electronic system just quit on him. His rig just rolled to a stop, and all he had was static on the radio. He's hoofing it. So if you see a stranded trucker, maybe give him a hand if it's safe to do so. Also, a quick heads up. If you're relying on any kind of scientific instruments today, like for research or navigation, they might be a bit unreliable with the way the magnetic field is zipping around. Don't put too much stock in those readings until we're clear of this storm. Hold on a second. All right, we're back. Had to tweak things a bit here. Okay, where were we? Yeah. If you're out in jet planes or running high-altitude flights, it's a tricky line to walk. So if you're working as a crew on those flights, please follow all guidance from ground control diligently. And just to keep it grounded, I want to remind you this isn't about a global collapse or anything, despite the flare and drama. It's a big hit on tech and power, though. We're going to have to lean on manual systems and good old determination to get through this. I'm running low on details on how it's hitting certain spots, but be wise and safe in your actions. Stay tuned for updates. This storm is far from over, and with it only being 6 hours in, there's more to come tonight. So hold tight, folks, and keep an ear on the radio. All right, back to the grind here, folks. Just finished tweaking our setup. Signal's a bit clearer now, so if you lost us for a bit, glad to have you back. It's still chaos out here with this geomagnetic storm messing everything up. Let's dive into some details while I still have the power to keep you updated. Managed to touch base with a few more people, and it's not looking great. I got a call from an engineer out in Las Vegas who gave me some insights while he still had connectivity. He's saying that the power grid there is getting pummeled pretty hard. They're experiencing brownouts across the city, and they're fighting tooth and nail to keep the lights on. If you've got candles or flashlights, best to have them within arm's reach, just in case you're next. Let's talk about communication lines now. I've had folks from all over trying to call in, but the lines are getting clogged and signals are weak. Cell towers are getting hit like dominoes, so expect dropouts and disruptions. Landlines are your best bet for stable communication, assuming they're still up and running where you are. There's some good news. We're getting reports of brighter auroras lighting up the skies. Normally, you'd have to be way up north to see something like this, but the storm's bringing them further down. If it wasn't for the chaos, it'd be a sight to see. So, if you can safely do so, maybe step outside and see if you can catch a glimpse. Just remember to prioritize safety over spectacle. I'm also hearing chatter from the airline industry. Those in charge have their hands full redirecting flights to avoid the polar regions. They've got all eyes on this storm, trying to ensure that planes and passengers stay safe. Fuel's going to be a concern with all these detours, so if you're set to fly, expect to be on the ground longer than planned. It's a headache, but it's necessary. Switching gears a bit, let's focus on ground transport. Tons of vehicles are stranded on highways. Got a tip-off from a guy outside of Omaha about a traffic jam stretching miles, all because some cars just seized up. The newer models, packed with electronics, seem to be hit the hardest. If you're lucky enough to have a reliable old clunker, cherish it. Those simpler machines might be what keep you on the move right now. On to the rail systems. Word is they're also feeling the pinch. Trains running on electric lines hit snags, leading to delays and stops dead on the tracks. Commuters are stuck in the middle of nowhere with no cell service to complain. If you're waiting for a train that's not showing up, you're not alone. Hang tight and stay patient. It's a tangled mess out there, and patience is key. Just got an alert that folks near pipelines should stay vigilant. I mentioned this earlier, but those induced currents can lead to long-term problems like corrosion. It's not an immediate threat right now, but it's bound to cause headaches down the road. The maintenance teams are going to have their work cut out for them once we're past the worst of this storm. Now for my science-minded listeners, let's talk about how this storm affects instruments. Equipment readings are going haywire, getting wonky data due to all the magnetic fluctuation. I heard from a researcher who's practically pulling his hair out because his lab's geomagnetic readings don't make sense. If you're in any scientific field today, double-check everything. Better safe than sorry, right? I want to remind everyone, especially in vulnerable areas, to double-check their emergency kits. Make sure your battery-operated radios have fresh batteries. Keep your water and non-perishable food stocked. Let's face it, with power playing hide-and-seek, you never know when you'll need them most. As I'm talking now, the crackle from the storm is a constant reminder of how fragile our tech is. I'm urging everyone to stay prepared for possible radio silence. I'll keep talking as long as I can, but I'm just one guy with a generator running on fumes. So if you hear static, wait it out or try switching frequencies. This storm is a stern reminder of the forces beyond our control. Keep a level head, support your neighbors if you can, and more importantly, stay informed through reliable sources. With connections flimsy at best, misinformation spreads faster than ever. Cross-check what you hear and rely on the facts. One more thing. I've got someone checking in with details from the medical field. They're stretched thin as hospital tech is trickling down to its most basic, no thanks to power fluctuations. It's a stressful scene, with medics fighting to get urgent care to all those in need. Stay clear of foot travel near hospitals unless it's a dire emergency. Clear routes for ambulances and services to operate. Wrapping things up for this segment, but don't go far. I'll keep you updated on any changes or critical info. Keep your radios close, your minds clearer, and let's ride out these 6 hours of storm as best as we can, together. Wow, just got a jolt of static. Reminds me of the old days when tuning the TV was a constant battle. Anyway, back to business. If you're hearing this, keep your ear to the radio. It's a lifeline right now. I've got some fresh intel coming in. A caller from a little town just outside Phoenix told me their power grid is flickering like a bad movie effect. Transformers are catching fire. Something about overloaded circuits. Can you even imagine? It's like the whole system is hanging by a thread. I hope those electrical crews are ready for a long night. And speaking of fire, here's the latest hotspot. Apparently, some pipelines in the northern plains are kicking up a fuss. Heard from an engineer who's now babysitting the control room, monitoring the pressure like it's about to explode any second. With those induced currents acting up, they say we'll be dealing with long-term damage. Affected areas might not feel the heat immediately, but the fallout won't be pretty. I'm switching gears a bit now. The radio's buzzing again. Probably nothing. Okay, now about those satellites. It's a tangled mess up there. You know, they're reporting glitches all over the GPS systems. Getting where you're going might turn into some wild guessing game. Time to dust off those paper maps if you still have some tucked away in a drawer somewhere. Also got an update about our astronauts floating above us. Not as serene as they'd like it to be, I gather. Radiation's ramping up, so they've been huddled in the more protected corners of their shuttle. Here's hoping their shielding is doing its job, because out there, the stakes are sky high. Literally. Anyway, let's divert back to the ground level. I've been getting calls about a surge, no, not the good kind, of aurora chasers heading out to capture those ghostly lights. They're pushing into places daylight never quite reaches this time of year. If you're thinking about joining them, please tread carefully. The roads are insane with these electronic hiccups. Oh, almost forgot to mention, if these surges haven't fried your radio yet, I'm guessing the battery-operated ones are becoming quite the prized possession right now. It's like gold, only more practical when you're in the middle of a geomagnetic quagmire. Hold on, got a new chatter coming in. Someone just reported seeing a section of high-frequency radio bands go dead. Sounds like it was one of their last reliable communication channels. So if you enjoy your random Russian shortwave shows, now's the time to bid them adieu. This storm isn't playing favorites. And finally, I must chat about those meticulous researchers in various labs. From what I've heard, they're having the time of their lives. Well, the opposite really. Their paper-thin patience isn't holding up well under the strain of glitchy instruments and nonsensical readings. Recalibrating in the middle of madness is always a fun chapter in any researcher's life, I suppose. Before I wrap up this segment, a little heads up. With power being the precious, fickle commodity that it is, take the time to unplug whatever appliances you aren't using. High-voltage surges can fry more than just your rancid leftovers. Let's avoid turning your trusty coffee machine into a permanent paperweight, okay? Alright, enough rambling from me. I gotta save some juice so I can keep this rolling as long as possible. Stay tuned for updates, keep your wits about you, and don't trust any ungrounded rumors you hear. We've got enough chaos without adding whispers to the mix. I'll swing back around once I gather more intel. Alright, we've got some more updates rolling in. It seems like things are getting even stranger by the minute. Imagine trying to navigate with your GPS bouncing all over the place like a pinball. That's what a caller just outside of Dallas is dealing with. He says the signal's been flickering in and out for hours, and even when it's on, it isn't giving accurate directions. Fellas, if you're out there on the road, keep those paper maps within reach. I can't stress enough how crucial they could be right now. Speaking of navigation issues, a pilot from a commercial airline flying over the Midwest reported having a hard time with their onboard systems. They're diverting flights away from polar routes to avoid the heavy radiation exposure. Can you picture that? It's not just satellites, but entire flights being knocked off their tracks. Pilots are working overtime to reroute and keep everyone safe. And those spacefarers I mentioned earlier up in the Big Black, I'm hearing they're sticking to their safety protocols, hunkered down in designated safer areas of their shuttle. The specialists down here must be biting their nails, hoping those shielding measures hold up against the increased radiation levels. I don't imagine there's much sleep happening in mission control right now. Down on Earth, emergency services are stretching themselves thin. Got a report from a small-town electrician out in Idaho. He mentioned they're prioritizing getting circuits stabilized, something about preserving what they can before the damages become unmanageable. Those transformers that are popping like corn, they're taking things one fuse at a time. Meanwhile, the auroras I touched on earlier, they're painting the skies in all sorts of colors over northern latitudes. A lady from Michigan called in, saying it's like the sky's gone neon. Beautiful, sure, but it's a reminder that things aren't as they usually are. If you do head out to see them, remember the roads could be a mess with all the electrical interruptions. Our trusty shortwave friend, the radio, is also feeling the heat. Whole swaths of frequencies are just gone. Pretty unsettling not to hear the occasionally comforting buzz of those foreign stations. It feels like losing an old friend. Keeps things feeling eerily quiet. I guess we all have to adapt to the new norm, at least until this storm passes. Oh boy, got another caller talking about troubles with high-frequency trading platforms and markets. Looks like they're suspending trades until they get reliable communications back online. Potential for economic ripple effects there. But for us regular folks, it just means those high-wire financial types are sweating bullets too. Might not be the worst thing to have some mandatory take-a-breath moments. And something that just popped in. There's been strange readings coming in from scientific instruments all around the country. I've heard more researchers are losing their minds trying to make sense of the data. Seems like whatever they give these things to chew on, they spit out numbers that make no sense. Hopefully none of them have a clipboard within throwing range. We need them to hang in there and think straight. So, here's the thing, listeners. We're deep in it right now, and there's no telling how long this is going to last. Batteries are premium, just like fuel or food, so use them wisely. Keep radios switched to battery power if you can. Save the rest of your juice for real emergencies. We may be running on fumes, but we'll get through this if we stay prepared and calm. Switching topics for a sec. The wildlife might be acting out of sorts too. Animals often react to these magnetic pulses before we even notice. If your pets are restless, it might be more than just cabin fever. Keep a close eye on them and maybe keep them inside for a while. One small mercy in all this madness is that at least it's not an EMP that's turning out the lights forever. What can get broken will probably be fixable with some elbow grease.
Just gonna take time and a good bit of work from everyone. Keep those spirits up. We need all the positivity we can muster. If you've got anything uplifting to share, any silver linings, send them my way. Hang tight. We're still in the first stretch of this thing, and while it's wild out there, we're holding the line. I'll keep sleuthing for info and share anything new as it comes in. Stay with me. Keep your heads together, and remember, knowledge is power, but staying calm is the best power we've got right now. All right, we're holding steady here, but just barely. I hope you're managing to hang in there too, wherever you are. I've got a few updates and, well, a couple more bits of advice to share. First, it seems like we've got more reports of power grid issues coming in. I'm hearing from folks as far wide as the Carolinas up to Montana that they're dealing with sporadic outages. It's patchy, almost like those Christmas lights where half the string's lit, the rest dead. Keep every light and appliance off if you can. They'll just chew through what power you may have. Conserve energy, folks. If you've got a generator, treat it like gold. Now, about those auroras lighting up the skies, it's a sight to behold, even down as far as Kentucky and Virginia, which is pretty wild. Normally, you'd need to be way up north, but this storm has them all over. If you're outside admiring the view, stay close to home and keep an eye on your electrical devices. Trust me, they're unpredictable right now. On the space front, those astronauts I mentioned earlier, they're sticking close to the shielded parts of their craft. It's their best bet until we're out of the woods. Hopefully, everyone up there is doing all right. Down here, Mission Control is burning the midnight oil trying to keep tabs on them. If you've got any friends in that line of work, they could probably use a kind word. I've just got news from a friend who works in telecom. They're scrambling to readjust some satellites since quite a few are getting knocked around by this storm. That's why if you've noticed your TV's gone fuzzy or your phone's not connecting as it should, well, now you know why. They're best grounded or turned off for protection. Let's talk about those flight plans. It's a real headache for airlines right now trying to reroute to avoid those radiation-heavy polar skies. There have been cancellations and diversions galore, and passengers are understandably a bit antsy. If any of you are waiting around in a terminal, pop those earbuds in and sit tight. Help will come, though it might just take a minute. I'm getting word that we're seeing more of those strange signals coming from research outposts all around. Instruments that were fine yesterday are now, well, not. Readings hidden beneath a heap of gibberish. Scientists are properly stumped, scratching their heads to decipher what they can. Feels like they're trying to read a book with the pages glued together. Oh, and before I forget, I've got to mention the power companies. Those linesmen out there, they're some of the unsung ones in all this madness. They're out braving the weather to keep what's left of the grid going.
They're real heroes, crawling through God knows what to bring a little light back into our lives. Now, in case anyone's tuning in late, remember to check on emergency kits. You might need those supplies if the power stays out for long. Water, food, and batteries should top your list. No one wants to get caught by surprise in all this. Funny enough, despite how much technology is suffering, there's been a sort of renaissance for old-school solutions. People are dusting off those transistor radios and keeping maps handy. There's something reassuring and strange in using these relics. They're simple, but they're managing, not relying on satellites that are now giving us all sorts of fits. And on the ground, it seems like even pets are having a tough go of it. If your furry friend's acting a little off, they might be picking up on things we can't notice. Animals are like that, aren't they? Good at sensing what we can't. Just keep them inside if you can. No need for your four-legged pals to be thrown by all this. You know, events like these sure make you think about how fragile our setup is. No need for some grand reflection here, but it's a reality check. A push to not take the familiar for granted. Staying connected, getting where we need to, and relying on that GPS voice to lead the way. 1 minute it's smooth sailing, next we're adrift, trying to make sense of an invisible storm. I'm about to wrap up this segment, but before I do, I want to thank everyone sharing information, keeping the line of communication open. Every call, every bit of news keeps us going, keeps us linked. It's not easy out there, but hearing from all of you makes a huge difference. We'll keep writing this out minute by minute, hour by hour. As for the rest, well, one step at a time. Stay sharp, gather those essentials, and look out for each other. We'll pull through. Let me gather a few more reports, and I'll be right back with more. Hold tight. All right, folks, I've managed to scrape together another handful of updates, so let's dive in and see what's unfolding around us. I know tension's in the air thick, but staying informed really is our lifeline right now. First off, let's talk about the storm itself. It's been going strong for a good chunk of the day, and we're just entering those critical first hours where the impact really starts hitting hard. Word is that this one's a beast, stronger than we've seen in recent memory. The kind of thing you don't want, but here we are, riding it out together. Good news from our friends keeping an eye on the skies. Some more magical auroras creeping into view, now dipping into places like Georgia. Can you believe that? The colors they're reporting sound unreal. A silver lining if there ever was one. Now, keeping things a bit closer to home, I just got a line from someone on the other side of town. The power grid's acting up there too. Lights flickering like a strobe, then poof, out altogether. They're doing okay, candles and all, but it's unpredictable. If you haven't yet, switch off anything non-essential. We don't need appliances adding to the surge. Can't stress enough how fragile the grid is. Also caught wind of some flight changes for those of you in travel limbo. You might want to prepare for longer waits. Suspended routes and extended layovers are becoming standard for the time being. If you can, touch base with someone back home. Let them know you're all right, even if it's a short text or email when service allows. In terms of navigation, those trusty compasses are having a moment, as in, they're spinning like crazy. Something to keep in mind if you're moving about on foot or using older navigation methods. There's plenty of reports saying they're basically useless right now, given all the magnetic interference. Just hang tight, and if you don't absolutely have to venture far, it's better to wait it out. All this electromagnetic hullabaloo is causing a stir on the scientific front too. Instruments and labs are throwing fits. One scientist I spoke to likened it to trying to measure the ocean with a thimble. That's how unpredictable things are turning. Most of the data's jumbled like a bowl of alphabet soup. Makes you respect the complexity of what we usually take for granted, science-wise. On your end, if you happen to be clinging to some old tech like radios or maps, those are proving surprisingly useful. Phones are acting up thanks to the satellite issues, but hey, radios are still speaking. Let's keep the lines open as much as we can. It's our tether for any of us who start to feel a bit isolated out there. Battery power looks like it's holding steady here, but I can't promise we won't see a dip. Double check your own stocks, whether it's batteries, candle stubs, or fuel. Better safe than sorry. And speaking of staying prepared, if your pet's been acting odd, you're not alone. The critters seem uneasy, picking up on the things beyond our senses. Lastly, let's not brush over the ongoing work of those keeping us functioning. Power crews are out there in the thick of it, contending with all sorts of mayhem to keep the lights on for those they can. They're deservedly on the kudos list. If you spot them around and it's safe, offer a wave or a word of thanks, from a distance, of course. Okay, I need to shift focus for a moment here.
Looks like the signal's dropping a bit. There, that's better. Sorry about that hiccup. These comms really are put to the test today, but we're getting through. So hold on tight, check in with neighbors if you can, and we'll keep rolling as best we can. I'm keeping my ears open here and fingers crossed. We've got more to come, so stay tuned, stay safe, and remember, this too shall pass. All right, let me jump back into the feed and see what else I can dig up for us. Back soon, hang in there. All right, I'm back. Sorry about the drop. The battery here is running low, and it seems like we're losing a bit of juice faster than I'd like. Anyway, there's more news rolling in, and it's not letting up anytime soon, so let's get to it. So over the wires, there's chatter that some of our satellites are really taking a beating. This storm is giving them quite the wallop, and guess what? That means our trusty GPS systems are having a tough go of it. If any of you folks... almost slipped with that one. If you're out there trying to navigate, maybe on a road trip that you can't pause, best advice is to double-check your route. Make sure you've got some kind of backup, maybe an old road map lying around. The gadgets aren't quite what they should be right now. Speaking of backups, got a quick heads up for anyone relying on critical medical devices at home. I've heard from a couple of folks already saying they're dealing with some glitches. If you've got a pacemaker or anything like that, keep your eyes and ears open for anything out of the ordinary. I don't want to alarm anyone, but it's vital to be extra aware. Moving on to the skies, and there's some fascinating stuff happening overhead. A contact out in Alabama just messaged about the sky lighting up with colors. It's the kind of show you don't expect this far south. Greens, purples, reds, you name it. If you're in a safe spot and can take a peek outside, it's worth braving the cold for a minute. Trust me, it's the kind of sight that stays with you for a while. I also got a heads up from a farmer in Nebraska who's been talking about how his cows are acting. Apparently they're kind of jittery, refusing to settle, which is uncommon for these normally docile creatures. Makes you wonder what they're sensing out there. Maybe the fluctuations in the magnetic field are throwing them off? But the message here is, if you have pets or livestock that are acting off, pay attention. Oh, and if you're keeping tabs on the power grid, it's still a bit of chaos. Crews are working hard, but with the storm causing fluctuations, the situation's unpredictable. One report mentioned a power surge in Maine, knocking things out across several neighborhoods. People there are relying on generators now. If you can, manage your power use and let's give the grid as much of a chance as we can. If radio's been your go-to, you'd better keep tuning in to AM frequencies like mine. Some of the more high-tech systems are taking a bit of a nap right now, trying to ride out this storm. Gotta love these older methods still holding strong. Good old analog sometimes comes through when you least expect it. Now, for those of you catching this broadcast over in Michigan or further north, looks like there's been some disruption in your telecommunications network. Service outages are being reported throughout. If it's safe, you might want to touch base with someone from outside the affected area who can relay any messages you need. Just remember not to panic, stay informed, and stay focused. And before I wrap up for a bit and recheck our equipment, a quick word about what's been happening with flights. They've pretty much redirected any planes away from the poles, meaning a lot of northbound flights are taking the scenic route right now. Longer in the air, more fuel used, and of course the dreaded layovers, but better pacing than rushing right into trouble. Keep your chins up, we're not through the woods yet, but hang tight and stay safe. Keep those radios tuned in here. I'll be back shortly, barring any major hiccups with the power. Stay connected, stay careful. Okay, I'm back, but just barely. We hit a snag here with the power, and I'm afraid my trusty generator's down to its last legs. Just checked it, and the fuel gauge is dancing in the red. I don't want to risk it sputtering out while we're still chatting here, so it looks like I'm going to have to move to a safer spot with a more reliable power source. Here's the plan. I'm going to pack up and move down to the old radio station basement a few blocks away. Hopefully their backup system is still running smoothly. It's been a while since I've been there, but if anyone's got the juice to keep this broadcast going, it's that place. Gotta stay on the air for as long as possible, especially with everything going on right now. Alright,
Grab your things, folks. Wait, wrong lingo. Scratch that. Just a force of habit. Okay, let me get my stuff together and head out. Hang tight, and I'll keep updating you as I move. Slipping out the door now. It's chilly, definitely colder than it should be. No breeze, though. Kind of eerie, actually. Like the whole world hit pause just for a moment. Heading down Main Street, and it's deserted. Car doors open, some hazard lights blinking. The few people I do see are as bundled up as me, moving with purpose, heads down, likely rushing to safer ground.
Passing by the little grocery store on the corner. Normally packed at this hour, but the windows are dark and the only sound is the faint hum of those freezer units that must have kicked over to emergency power. Almost comforting hearing them. Just constant enough to remind you that some things are hanging in there, but even that noise feels like it's holding its breath. Now I'm cutting through an alley. There's this cat, looks like it got itself spooked darting away from a dumpster. Can't blame it. All over town, animals and folks alike are probably sensing that things ain't quite right. The wind's picking up slightly. All those little debris pieces from the road are rattling. It's not much, barely enough to lift the dust, making my eyes itch. But it's there, light enough to notice, but heavy with a message that it's only gonna get worse. Almost at the station now. Just gotta make it past this abandoned diner. I can see the neon sign still flickering open, though I doubt it even knows what time it is. Felt like it hasn't worked in years. Rusted out cars in the lot tell me the story. Nothing new to see here. Just the old and the forgotten. And here we are. Darn good to see the old building again. The door sticks like always, but once inside I feel this wave of calm. Hum of equipment backgrounds the ticking clock. The station's got an old school charm. Smells like coffee and dust. Vinyl records lining the walls, probably from when they switched to digital archives. All right, setting up in the main studio. Wish you could see this place. Table along one wall stacked high with outdated audio equipment, but it's still reliable and going strong. Here's hoping their generator's got more life left in it than mine did. I'm back in business. Maybe a bit echoey in here, but you can bet we're hearing things out and ready to roll for as long as this basement's power holds. So, quick update on that Aurora sighting. It's moved further east now. Nebraska's seeing the same kind of light show. Who could guess a geomagnetic storm would bring a spectacle like that clear across the plains? From coast to coast, we might just be lighting up the night. Got a little bit more information coming in about those power outages, thanks to my buddy on the line who's still hammering out details even while navigating his own blackout there in Ohio. Crew's trying to pin down exactly where it's worst. The main fear now is the grid buckling under fluctuation. If you're hearing me, get a little contingency lined up, whether it's solar chargers or just some candles. Think ahead. And for those still in their cars, you're not alone. I know that drive can feel like a lifetime right now. Hold steady. Use landmarks if your GPS is down. Old school, but sometimes the old ways stick around for a reason, right? Either way, we've got flashlights shining the way clearer than those streetlights sputtering to life and back. So keep something handy to light your own path, just in case. Phones are still patchy, so if you've got a message, find someone who can relay it. Makeshift chain, but your neighbor might just be the lifeline you didn't know you needed. And if you're nearby, drop in when you can. Doors open and anyone needing a little warmth or news is welcome for as long as I'm here. We're all standing together in this. And remember, keep extra batteries handy. Charge what you can and turn off any non-essential electronics. Lend a hand to those who might need the extra help when it comes to figuring out how to prep. We're in for the long haul. I'll check back as soon as I can run a wire into the emergency comms here. It takes a little bit of magic, but you all know I'll make it work. Sit tight, stay safe, and don't forget to jot down anything important because you know how things can get lost in the confusion. Keep tuning in. We're all ears and ready here, making sure no one's in the dark any longer than need be. All right, I've got the emergency comms wired up now. Managed to dig out some old cables from the storage room and string them through. Amazing how much stuff can pile up in a place like this over the years. Cords tangled up like spaghetti. Anyway, we're online and it's holding steady for now. Fingers crossed it stays that way. Now, I've been getting sporadic updates coming through. A lot of it about the state of the power grid. Apparently, utility crews are spread thin, dealing with one blown transformer after another. Places like Pennsylvania and Michigan are hitting it hard, and both of those states are seeing significant blackouts. They tell folks to prepare for extended outages, because fixing this on the fly with so much damage is like trying to plug a dozen leaking holes with just two hands. If you're in those areas or nearby, be extra mindful. Flashlights, candles, maybe camp stoves if you've got them. Anything that'll make sitting in the dark a bit more bearable. And keep your phones and radios off unless they're essential. We need to conserve battery until the juice is back. If you've got spare power banks, double check they're charged. I got a heads up from a friend who works with NOAA over in Boulder, Colorado. She's saying that tracking this geomagnetic storm is proving tricky. The solar wind is hitting us more forcefully than initial estimates predicted. It seems those earlier solar flares we experienced packed more punch than we thought. She's also advising that if you have any crucial electronics that need protection, get them unplugged or wrapped in whatever insulated material you can muster. Simple aluminum foil isn't a miracle shield, but sometimes any barrier is better than none.
I'm looking out the window here now. The cloudy skies finally cleared up just a tad, but I've yet to see any auroras here up in the hills. Maybe it's still too light out here, or it's just my luck with the view. Heard from a guy in Kansas who said their skies were glowing something fierce earlier, a rare sight for those folks. In the immediate chaos, let's not forget to check on our neighbors, especially those who might not get word as easily. Elderly folks, those living alone, they might be well out of the grid loop. A knot or two just to ensure everyone's warmed up and stocked can mean a world of difference tonight. It's all about pulling each other through, right? Back to your phones for a second. I know it sounds old-fashioned, but paper maps can really help if your GPS isn't working. Not many people keep them around anymore, but if you happen to have a dusty one stashed somewhere, this is the perfect time to dust it off. Traffic lights are iffy too. Some intersections might turn into chaos without them if folks aren't careful. A call just pinged through from a trucker in Utah. He's pulled over at a rest stop and sounds a bit shaken. Told me his radio's been acting weird ever since the storm hit. Sounds like those frequencies are getting scrambled by the storm. His engine electronics went haywire for a bit too, but thankfully it didn't stall. It's worth noting if you're on the road, stay sharp and be prepared for sudden stops just in case other vehicles aren't as lucky as his. Speaking of travel, some airlines are already canceling flights, especially those heading over the polar regions. They've got to reroute or ground them altogether due to potential increased radiation exposure at high altitudes. If you're planning a journey by air, double check because there's bound to be last-minute schedulers trying their best to dodge this fallout. This feels like it's going to be one of those situations that's weaved into our lives for a bit. Short-term jolts with long thinking heads, if you get my drift. It's not only the immediate tech grinding to a halt, but it's the long game of repairing and recovering where things got frazzled. Be patient and remember that there's no harm in being a tad overcautious now. Anyway, if you're out there, keep this line open, get those radios tuned in, and exchange what you can. If you stumble into an area without signal, lay low or look for assistance. We're all seeing how it pans out, and more updates will be shared as they arrive. So hold tight, keep sharing stories and warnings, and stay connected. I'll keep this loop going as long as there's power in these old bones of a station. Alright, so like I was saying, we're still grappling with the fallout from this geomagnetic storm. The situation's shifting by the minute, and it looks like it won't let up anytime soon. Just now our connection flickered, but it seems to be holding for the moment. If you can hear me, stay tuned for all updates I've got. Let's dive right back in. Another update just trickled in here. Communications are sketchy, so every bit of info counts. Got word from an amateur radio operator over in North Dakota. He mentioned that it feels like parts of the sky are shimmering even there. Sounds like the auroras are still giving quite a show, stretching further south than usual. Usually you'd need to be far up north to spot them, but tonight it's as if they've decided to visit new places. Oh, almost forgot. Our old setup here seems to be holding steady for now. Just made some adjustments on the antenna to get a stronger signal. If you're trying to reach me, patience helps. It's like threading a needle in the dark some evenings. Had a listener from Illinois report that her GPS system seemed to be on vacation. In fact, her words were, "It's taking me everywhere but where I need to go." A good reminder to double check those turn-by-turn directions, even if you think you're taking the scenic route. What's usually reliable might just lead you straight into a cornfield tonight if you're not careful. It's wild how technology becomes both our best friend and a bit of a joker when these storms hit hard. Speaking of wild tales, another trucker in Nevada messaged, his CB radio squawks have been all jumbled like a child's radio toy. He's still trucking along, just doing it the old-fashioned way, signals and signs. These disruptions sure remind us of bygone ways, don't they? Sometimes it feels like stepping back a few decades. Quick heads up, airlines are rerouting flights like it's a puzzle, especially those heading near the poles. Expect delays and changes if you're in an airport, or worse, waiting for someone to come through one. Check your status regularly. The pilots and crews are doing their best, but this isn't something easily outwitted. Got another call earlier from a nurse down in Georgia. She's rationing the hospital's resources like sugar during the Great Depression. The backups are holding, but they're counting diesel by the hour. If you're nearby and have a backup generator, lend a hand if you can. Little helps go a long way when everyone's waving in the same direction. Oh, and a quick note if you're hitting the road. Spare gas might just save your sanity. Some gas stations are running on fumes, both metaphorically and literally, thanks to power interruptions. Seems a lot of pumps won't even fire up. Folks have been saying they're pushing their cars out of line more than they're filling them up with fuel. Now the good old weather forecast. Not a cloud is sight.
Not physically affecting us, like we covered earlier, but man, it makes radio folks like me expect a bit of mercy from the sky. The storms we can measure are easier than the invisible kind dancing up there tonight. While we're doing what we can till sunrise, remember to unplug anything that doesn't need to be plugged in. It's not a guarantee, but reducing the load helps the folks on the ground trying to balance a million tasks at once. Those small actions ripple bigger than we think. Like I said before, aluminum foil or not, getting some protection in place can't be worse than none. Listening out for more updates? Stay sharp. We're all learning as it unfolds, the likes of which many haven't seen for quite some time. It's about staying spaced out with knowledge, not just pent in by the chaos. Keep those dials tuned in here. Bandwidth fluctuation might be a hassle, but we're staying open as long as this old rig holds electricity. If you're hearing this, your company's pretty welcome on these airwaves. There's something calming about knowing the line's open in such storms. All right, still got you with me? Good. Let's talk about what we're dealing with right now. The battery here is holding steady, but I'm keeping an eye on it to make sure I can keep talking to you for as long as possible. Power can be a fickle thing in storms like these. Picture this. It's like we've been tossed back into a time when everything was a bit more unpredictable. You've got to rely on whatever you've got at hand. I had to dig out an old torch just to get around the room tonight. Whole place is kind of eerie in the dim light, reminding me of those horror flicks I stay away from. Checking in with my radio folks around the area, one just chimed in from upstate, said they saw bright dancing lights across the horizon, like a laser show in the sky, only it's the aurora. Imagine that, an impromptu light display nature's putting on. Guess it's one of the perks of all this if you've got clear skies where you are. If you do, maybe look up. It might just give you a moment of awe amidst all this chaos. But back to more pressing matters. Got some news in from an electrical engineer trying to keep things stitched together. He mentioned that grid fluctuations were causing surges, nudging some areas closer to outages. Even heard some transformers have been taking hits, leaving repair crews scrambling. So, if you're noticing things flickering more than usual, it might just mean your area's next. Best to have those candles ready. I've been hearing a lot of radios letting out a different kind of static today. Used to be that high-pitched buzz, but now it's more of a distorted hum, hard to listen to for too long.
Picking out voices is like fishing for something at the bottom of a murky lake. Patience is key. To all you drivers out there, whether you're doing the long haul or just trying to get back home, be extra cautious. Those GPS devices are more lost than you're feeling right now. Try mapping your route old school style if you can, because frankly, satellites are having a rough patch. acting more like stage performers with stage fright, not hitting their marks like they should. For those tuned in to this frequency, if you find you're suddenly just hearing static, it might not be your equipment failing. This storm has a way of making devices sound off, all out of tune, like they've gone tone deaf. I'll do what I can on my end to keep our conversation alive. Just got pinged about flight rerouting getting more tangled up. A pilot managed a quick relay saying that alternate routes are getting packed like a game of musical chairs where everyone's still looking for a seat. So lots of delays, with planes playing follow the leader in the sky. And speaking of playing old games, I've dusted off a compass here. It's kind of fun trying to get it to point true north, but right now it's throwing a fit and spinning like it's had a bit too much. If you're navigating by more conventional means, well, better double check your bearings. Another listener reached out from Kansas. Their college lab equipment's getting all sorts of weird readings. Instruments are picking up shifts like they've never seen before. Might be a good day to peek through their data just to understand how much this storm is shaking things up. Batteries, by the way, might sound mundane, but I've realized they're the unsung heroes tonight. If you've got a stash, treat it like gold. I'm keeping a couple on hand here, feeling like a squirrel prepping for winter. You never know when they might come in handy with the way electronics are acting. Look, if you're taking journeys for essentials, make sure to alert someone. Shared mobility seems more sense-making given how unpredictable travel's become. Check in via whatever means still churns out a steady signal. Safety in numbers, as they say. You know, while I've got you, here's a thought. These sorts of events have a strange way of making us appreciate the things we rely on, often so silently. It's a lesson in gratitude, even if it's forced upon us, and that's something worth remembering as we navigate through these first hours of what's feeling like a long night. There's a trucker who just messaged in, said they had to pull off the road, just too risky with all the interference. They're planning to catch some shut-eye in their cab. So if you're trucking or know someone who is, pass it on. Safety might just lie in the waiting for now.
Had an update from a friend at a local TV station. They're surviving on whispers of internet, trying to broadcast what they can. But with connectivity shaky at best, it's a toss-up. Maybe turn the dial to trusty old radio waves if you're after something a bit more stable. More reports are filtering in from people meeting unexpected problems. Some fear their devices won't last through the night. Workshops and garages might find their little radios and static-prone setups coming back to life. Nostalgic, but effective. With what limited power we have, let's stay practical. If you need to get the word out, keep it short and meaningful. It'll make everything run smoother under current pressure. Everyone's feeling the pinch right now, and every ounce of optimism helps. As we coast through these stormy seas, if you see someone needing a hand, why not reach out? Just saw a post about an improvised shelter. It's heartwarming to know some lights still shine brighter, even when skies don't. Keep it steady with me, all right? Let's hope this will soon be a tale we can laugh about from a brighter tomorrow. All right, still hanging in there? Power's dipping a bit, but this baby's still chugging along. Just had a quick look outside and everything's kinda eerie in the dark, like the whole world hit a pause button. Checking in with all you out there. I hope you're keeping warm and safe. These first few hours of the storm, they're the most crucial. Got a message from a buddy who drives the long haul. He said there's no point in moving his rig right now. The GPS is all over the place, completely unreliable, so he's parked up, figuring it's better to sit tight than get lost or worse. That's good advice. If you don't have to travel, best stay put and wait it out. Meanwhile, I've been fiddling with the radio whenever the static gets unbearable. It's like trying to find a clear frequency in a sea of white noise. Just gotta ride it out, I suppose. If you're near a radio, stick with it. Sometimes you'll catch a nugget of good news through all the fuzz. More reports filtering in. New York's seeing unstable power, flickers and dips. I'm wishing them luck out there. Utility crews are doing their best. Everyone's got their hands full, and those guys are the unsung heroes right now. If you see a worker, give them a thumbs up or a wave. They're working to keep us going. Got an update about the flight routes. They're like a puzzle, planes zigzagging and taking longer any way around to avoid the worst of the storm. If you've got loved ones on a flight, let them know we're thinking of them. This night might stretch out for all of us. Checked my old school compass again, and it's still spinning like a carnival ride. Not much hope of using that unless things ease up. It's strange, feeling a bit lost without all the tech we lean on every day. Hard reminder of what we take for granted when all is well. People up north are having a pretty unique time, though. The auroras dancing in the sky, bright and vivid like nature's own fireworks. I guess there's some magic there if you can look past the chaos. If you're somewhere with a good view, maybe take a moment and just breathe it all in. It's a once-in-a-lifetime spectacle for a lot of folks further south. Oh, hold on. Just heard that. Remember that electrical engineer from earlier? He's in upstate New York, and he says they're doing their level best to manage the surges. The good news is that they're on it, but it's touch and go with so much pressure on the grid. Keep those flashlights handy. Just heard from a nurse over in Chicago. She said their hospital's pushing ahead with backups, but they're using diesel faster than expected. If you can, check in on your neighbors or anyone who might need help. This storm's hitting punches all over, reminding us all that we're in this together. Still got the old torch I've been using to find my way around in the dim light. Never thought I'd be relying on something so ancient, huh? But it's serving me well tonight. If you've got other backups, like candles or oil lamps, keep them ready. Nights like this teach us a thing or two about being prepared. Okay, just getting a touch more static here. Might need to switch frequency shortly. If it cuts out, don't fret. I'll be here trying to punch through the noise. Just keep an ear out for my voice. Our compass may be playing tricks, but good old word of mouth still has its place. I'm getting lots of messages, people letting me know what's going on in their parts of the world. Keep those updates coming, whether it's on the road, at home, or out keeping the lights on for everyone else. It makes a difference knowing we're all shouldering this together, and maybe we'll laugh at how we manage down the line. There's a farmer from Nebraska who reached out. His equipment's gone haywire. Can't blame it. Everything feels topsy-turvy right now. But he says the animals are calm, more reliable than any gadget at the moment, feeding calmly under the green glow. Another report in from Kansas. College labs still wrestling with those odd readings. It's a strange new world for them, too. Who knows what we'll learn when this passes? One thing at a time, though. Gotta handle the present. All right, stay safe, everyone. Gather your essentials and keep an eye out for each other. The night's got a ways to go, and so do we. We're navigating through, one step at a time, storm or no storm. All right, I'm back. I had to tweak this radio a bit. The signal's still cutting in and out, but we're holding strong for now. I hope you all are managing out there. It's been one heck of a storm. I've just gotten word from our emergency services folks, a friend of mine working with firefighters around the Boston area, actually. They're stretched thin trying to respond to power issues caused by the storm. Apparently, some neighborhoods are more flickers than lights right now. If you're there, hang tight. They're coming your way as fast as they can. I should mention, if anyone's relying on GPS or anything that depends on satellite signals, be extra cautious. The interference from this geomagnetic storm is throwing signals off like crazy. We're getting reports from all over that even high-tech navigation systems are erratic. So stick to the old roads you know if you must travel. But honestly, it's better to stay put. Better safe than stuck somewhere with no signal. Speaking of signals, the power companies are doing their best to maintain stability, but it's still a dicey game. You've probably heard some buzz about potential brownouts. Austin's got some areas where the grid's real shaky, and workers are battling to keep things patched together. I've always said, God bless those utility workers, especially on nights like these. If you're out there in the dark, remember that they are too, trying to bring the lights back on. Now let's shift gears back to aviation for a moment. I'm getting more updates from folks in the air travel industry. Flights are still seeing those odd delays and reroutes I mentioned earlier. It's a nightmare for logistics right now. Planes are taking longer routes to sidestep areas with high magnetic interference, and I can only imagine how frustrating it must be for anyone stuck waiting at airports. If you're waiting on someone flying in or out, keep your phone charged, if it's still holding a charge, and be ready to be flexible with plans. On another note, I've got a quick shout out to parents out there keeping kids entertained with the power off. I know it's not easy.
It might be worth telling them about how storms like these create auroras, those incredible light displays. Science, right? You get a mix of solar particles in the Earth's magnetic field, and bam, nature's own light show. We could all use some of that wonder right now. And hey, a listener from northern Michigan just called in saying the sky is lit up with purples and greens like a painting. Even in all this turmoil, there's still beauty out there. If you're in a spot with clear skies and the lights are dark enough, take a look. It's a reminder that while we're dealing with the storm's chaos, there's still something to marvel at. But coming back to immediate concerns, if you can, keep an eye on your power sources. I'd say charge your devices while you can, but really, it's a game of endurance right now against the storm's interference.
Well, my generator's holding for now. I figure we've got juice for a few more hours, but always good to plan ahead. Make sure those flashlights are within reach, and those candles are somewhere safe. Switching to power reports from the Midwest, Chicago's hanging in. They've got power surges flaring back to life, but fingers crossed, they'll stay running. Hospitals are definitely high on vigil mode. They're managing on backups where the power's patchy, using more diesel than anticipated. If you're working in healthcare, hats off to you folks. You're keeping the gears turning in a real moment of need. I'm getting another report in from the Northwest. Brad, a trucker up by Seattle, says he's bunkered down on the side of the road. Thanks to this magnetic interference, GPS is practically useless to him, and even his radio's not picking up like it should. He's hanging in there, though, hoping the skies clear soon. If you're near to home, try to stay put until the morning when things should ease a bit. Back to a tech standpoint, scientists are already collecting mountains of data on this storm. Labs are buzzing, trying to decode how the magnetic field's tweaking our systems. Once the sky's clear, we'll likely be sifting through these findings for a long while. What we learn from this could help us prep better for the next round. All right, take care, everyone. Remind each other to stay safe and look out for what's essential. We're midway through the rough part. Soon enough, we'll be on the downhill side of this at least. Keep your radios tuned right here for more updates. All right, still here, folks. Battery's holding out, at least for now. Ain't much else to do but keep the chatter going. Remember, if you've got an old-school transceiver, stay tuned in. I'm hearing the storm's got satellites going haywire, so who knows how long these messages will keep coming through. But we'll push through as long as we can. Just got another update from our friends in the power sector over in the Northeast. They're really struggling to stabilize the grid. Seems some transformers aren't handling the surge as well. Parts of New York are reporting intermittent outages. Some of it's a flicker, but for others, the lights are out completely. If you're in those areas, brace yourself. This storm's sparking off more chaos than expected. Managed to get a call from a friend down south. They've got a backup generator running, but he's worried about how much longer it's going to last. Says it's been running non-stop and the fuel's getting low. If you've got a generator, make sure you've got a few extra gallons stashed. Wouldn't want to be caught in the dark if things go south. Checking in on the aviation front next. Air traffic's still a mess. Pilots are doing their best to reroute around magnetic interference hotspots. 1 minute you're flying, next you're rerouting, trying to find a path that's somewhat clear of signal trouble. If you're waiting on flights, be prepared for delays. Airports are buzzing with activity, everyone trying to keep things moving, but uncertainty's the name of the game. Got some good news from the northern regions where auroras are making quite a show. Despite everything else going sideways, those lights keep dancing. Reports say they're visible much further south than usual. If you're somewhere you can see them, consider stepping out for a look, but do it safe, especially if your neighborhood's missing streetlights. On the home front, just checked my backup power. We're still chugging along, but it's getting tight. Battery's down to about 20%. That's maybe another couple of hours, tops. If you're running low on power like me, keep those important devices charged up. It's all about strategic use right now. Shift the focus for a second to our farmers out there. Got a quick check-in from a grower in Iowa. Concerns arising over equipment getting weird readings. Some of those GPS systems running farm machinery straight aren't behaving nicely. If you're relying on tech for agricultural work, make sure you've got backup plans in place. It's all about adapting on the fly while this storm rolls on. Speaking of rolling on, I've got a buddy trucking through Ohio. Called in to say his radio's cutting in and out, same as the rest of us. Says GPS isn't giving him any love either. He's on the roadside for now, trying to wait it out until the skies settle a bit. Best advice? If you're close to home or a safe pull-off, stay put till you know you can get through without trouble. One last shout before I switch gears to more calls. Shout out to the folks keeping an eye on healthcare facilities. I know we touched on hospitals a bit earlier, but it's worth saying again, you're the backbone of keeping folks safe when everything else is upended. Emergency power's in full swing, so they're quickly working through patient management, especially where supplies and diesel are running tight. All right, we're in the thick of it, friends. 6 hours in, and who knows how much longer before the magnets stop messing with our lives. It's a test, no doubt about it. Remember to check on those around you. Kindness goes a long way, especially now. I'll be riding out the storm from here with you, so hang tight, stay safe, and keep those lines open. More updates as I get them, so don't go far. All right, everyone, still hanging in there? Battery's taking a hit. We're down to around 15% now. We'll keep this rolling as long as possible. If you lose this signal, I'll switch to the backup frequency. Stay on alert for that. I got another ping from the guys keeping an eye on the power situation in the Northeast. Things aren't getting any prettier. The grid's flickering like a broken light bulb, and those transformer issues are spreading. Their words, not mine. If you're in that neck of the woods, be prepared for more outages. Those lights might not come back on for a stretch. Had a quick call earlier from someone just outside Detroit. They're seeing some substantial auroras lighting up the night. Not just a show for the north, I guess. Just remember to be safe out there if you're going for a look. The roads aren't reliable, and without streetlights in some areas, it's a real risk. Regarding flights, airports are still battling to get things sorted. Pilots are working double time trying to navigate around this magnetized mess. If you've got a flight on the boards, have your drinks and snacks ready for delays. Some people are seeing flights postponed by several hours. Definitely keep your patience handy. Turning back to local updates, my backup power's still holding up, though it's squeaky tight. If you're like me, down to the wire on power, make sure you're saving juice for must-have gadgets. Just plugging along with what we've got at hand. On the farm front again, got more worries from growers. Couldn't get a straight answer earlier from a farmer in Kansas. He told me his crop monitoring systems are flipping out. So if you're relying on tech-driven systems, have those backup plans solid. Manual's the key word here. Oh, before I forget, the truckers I spoke to earlier, some of them are swinging it solo without GPS, just relying on maps and whatnot. Smart move. GPS disruptions are still causing a mess. Listen, if you're behind the wheel, know your route's the old school way. Ignoring those GPS whims before you're on the road's gonna save you a headache or two. And a nod to healthcare staff pushing on through this storm. Got another nudge from a nurse over in Minnesota. Hospital backup systems there are stretched thin. Equipment's okay for now, but it's the uncertainty that's really witching up the tension. Remember, your work right now is crucial. Keep pushing and do what you can with what you've got. Let's swing back to the skies. The southern hemisphere, you're likely not left out of the aurora party. Reports coming in from Argentina and South Africa show the phenomenon is popping up there as well. It's hitting much broader areas than usual. If you're lucky enough to get a glimpse, it'd be worth it. Go catch a view, but again, safety first. Quick breath. A buddy who's handy with a radio told me earlier that the amateur bands are buzzing with chatter. Some frequencies might cut through when the usual lines fade to static. If you're hunkered down with a radio, scan for a frequency that's alive with conversation. Checking on the ground, just saw a neighbor popping his head out, checking around. Seemed like he was dealing with corroding pipelines. Hope he's got it under control. Those are another sneaky headache from these storms. Stay cautious if you're dealing with anything similar. Safety above all else.
Right. One more time on relocation. Power's dwindling here. If you can, find somewhere with stable backup systems, even if it's just for making sure lines stay open. In case things go blank on my end, I'll be regrouping and trying to shift to a more secure spot. It's been a rough ride these past few hours. Everyone doing their best. Remember to stay connected as best you can, and keep an eye out for each other. I'll keep hollering updates as they land with me. Stay smart, stay safe, and maybe we'll find a spark of normal soon.